Negative self-talk. See, the brain cannot just be neutral. You can't just say, well, I'm not going to have negative self-talk. Argument that there is disparity between TikTok influencers about what terminology exactly is supposed to be used to make this manifestation happen is just, it's a childish argument, okay? Hello and welcome to another episode of Good Problems to Have. I am your host, David Nima. I am a happiness coach and personal coach. I'm also a lawyer and author of the book, Good Problems to Have, The Anatomy of Contemporary Happiness. In today's video, we are going to react and provide counter arguments against the arguments that Matt Walsh from the Daily Wire is making against manifestation and his proposed alternative, praying to God. In summary, he says manifestation is bad, and what you should do instead is to pray to God, and we're here to counter that. So let's get right into it.
One of the hottest new trends, which is really a new version of last decade's hot new trend, and the decade before that, and so on, is called manifesting.
So right there, I just find that very funny that he says one of the hottest new trends that is a version of a trend from last decade and the decade before that and the decade before that. So this is a 40-year-old trend, I guess, according to Matt Walsh, which I think is an oxymoron, but nevertheless, manifestation and positive thinking that is something that goes back thousands of years, Matt Walsh. It's not a new trend.
Is the practice of trying to get good results by doing absolutely nothing at all. And to engage in manifesting is to think happy thoughts and then expect happy things to materialize for you out of thin air, as it were. It's essentially optimism on steroids, or maybe more like optimism on hallucinogens. And not to skip to the end of the conversation, but the first thing you should know about manifesting is that the only thing it actually manifests is disappointment and failure. Here's the New York Post on that, quote, manifesting, the suddenly trendy practice of thinking that aspirational thoughts or ideas will cosmically attract success, might not be as harmlessly woo-woo as it's hyped up to be. Those who believe in the practice of manifesting are at higher risk of going bankrupt, according to a new study published in the Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin. Researchers from the University of Queensland in Australia also found that daydream believers were more likely to be lured into risky investments and more apt to dangerously presume that they can achieve an unrealistic level of success in a short amount of time. Imagine that. Quote, in our studies, we define manifestation as the belief that if you send out your desires to the universe through positive thoughts, visualization, or acting as if goals have already come true, like writing a pretend check to yourself, the universe will deliver what you desire, lead study author Lucas Dixon told the Times UK.
So I just want to quickly premise his kind of underlying definition of manifestation here, because manifestation, according to them, which is defined as sending out positive thoughts into the universe, quote unquote, and expecting something in result, I think is a little bit of an unfair definition. Manifestation, or the act of manifesting, is really the result of positive thinking. As he said earlier, optimism. And he calls it optimism on steroids or optimism on hallucinogens. I'm here to tell you optimism is one of the best things that you can adopt into your mentality, no matter whether it's on quote-unquote steroids or hallucinogens or coffee or whatever else you want to put your optimism on. Optimism is a terrific thing to have in your daily practice and in your mindset. You want to be optimistic, okay? And that kind of positive thinking is likely to manifest itself into a positive experience. That's what the crux of the manifestation theory is, or the positive thinking theory is. Now, Matt Walsh is going to come here and he's going to provide a bunch of examples of TikTok influencers who assume, according to him, there's no agreement in terms of what terminology one is supposed to use so that they can, quote unquote, be successful in these manifestations. Some people like to say, like some of these influencers are saying that you should use your term, you could write yourself a check. There's a lot of exercises and a lot of different ways that you can phrase your positive thinking and what I call, and a lot of people call, affirmations. You can phrase your affirmations in a certain way for them to have the effect that you want them to have, which which is having positive thinking. So his argument that there is disparity between TikTok influencers about what terminology exactly is supposed to be used to make this manifestation happen is just, it's a childish argument, okay? Positive thinking and affirmations will result in a more positive lifestyle and experience. And let me give you the evidence of this. Imagine if you did not have a positive mindset. Imagine if while you were going about, let's say, for example, your goal is to have a beautiful family, okay? Or your goal is to one day open a restaurant, okay? So these are two different people with two different goals. And imagine if both these people, as Matt Walsh recommends, which is, I think, is a good piece of advice, they take a lot of action to make their goals come true. One person is doing everything that they can to go ahead and start a new family, and this other person is doing everything they can to go ahead and open a new restaurant. So these are both noble goals, and they're both taking noble actions to reach this goal. But stay with me on this. Imagine if these people had the most negative mindset. Imagine if every day they were saying to themselves, this is never going to happen for me. I'm never going to be able to have a family. I'm never going to be able to open a restaurant. My dreams will never come true. All these negative self-talk that we talk about a lot through the Good Problems to Have podcast and as well as in the book, all this negative self-talk, imagine if they were immersed in this negative self-talk. Well, of course, one would think that it's less likely for them to achieve their goals, which is to start a family or open a restaurant, with the addition of this negative self-talk in their psyche. So that's what affirmations are. That's what this manifestation industry is trying to create and essentially spread, through influencers to the masses, which is that you gotta have the positive optimism when you want to start a family. And whether you want to start a new restaurant or whatever your goal is, it's well advised for you to approach it from an optimistic perspective. And these influencers are giving you various types of affirmations or phraseology or quotes that you can repeat to yourself so that you can remove the negative self-talk. See, the brain cannot just be neutral. You can't just say, well, I'm not going to have negative self-talk. What you got to do is you got to replace those thoughts. And the only thing you can replace negative self-talk with is positive self-talk, which is affirmations and manifestation. That's how the brain works. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to not do negative self-talk. You're going to replace that self-talk with something else, which is positive self-talk. And there's no such thing as neutral. It's either positive or negative. So you got to be positive, and that's going to help you achieve your goals much better. And that's proven by the fact that if you think about it, if you have a toxic person in your life, or you have all these toxic messaging around your room saying that you're never going to achieve anything, you're never going to become anything, you're going to become bankrupt, you're going to go to jail, you're going to have health problems, all these negative things that you're constantly repeating to yourself, well, guess what? Well, I think it's pretty likely that you're going to actually manifest those negative things. Or one can say that it's much less likely that you're going to be able to successfully reach your goals. If your goals are to be happy, then you're much less likely to reach those goals with that negative self-talk. So that is what I consider pretty good evidence, or at least a good argument, for why affirmations are necessary. And the word manifestation, you have to remember, is the result of what's in your mind. So this is a discussion about having positive, optimistic messages in your mind through positive affirmations, and we discuss a lot of those in chapter 2 of Good Problems to Have. And you can also do Googling. You can Google for recommendations on top best affirmations, but you got to have these affirmations, these positive affirmations in your mind, because if you don't have them, you're going to have the negative self-talk. And as I discussed, you're going to have a much tougher time reaching your goals if your goals include living a happy life with the negative self-talk.
Appears to be the fundamental belief that lies behind manifesting. Faith that the universe is not only a conscious entity, but one that is generous and kind and wants us all to be happy and successful. This belief is, to put it mildly, misguided. And we'll get back to that in a moment, but a little bit more from the post-report quote. Manifestation could lead to people fixating more on symbolic actions like visualizing success rather than instrumental actions such as managing personal finances. Those who believe in manifesting are more likely to feel that they have control over fairly uncontrollable aspects of their life, whether they get rich quick or become famous, Dixon said. In business, this could lead to an opportunity cost where time is spent focusing on more uncontrollable long-term goals rather than controllable.
So, okay, so most of this video, as you can see, we're only 2 minutes in, and he's going to be talking about how manifesting without doing more or having positive affirmations, being optimistic, I guess optimistic on steroids, as he calls it, being optimistic without doing anything else is going to lead to nothing. It's more likely for you to lead. It's more likely to lead you to be bankrupt and to not achieve your goals because you're just sitting there in a room trying to have positive thoughts. Now that is true to a certain degree. It is true that without taking action, you're going to have a tougher time reaching your goals. But again, that is another red herring or maybe a misguided perspective that Matt Walsh has on the whole manifestation industry, because that's not what manifestation is. Manifestation is taking action and visualizing, because a lot of people are taking action, but they have negative self-talk. A lot of people are taking action, but they're relying on other sources like their family, their government, or their religion and God to help them get to their goals rather than taking responsibility themselves. And we're going to get to that a little bit later in this video. But the point here is that I think Matt Walsh has a misunderstanding of this manifestation industry, because manifestation by definition is the result of what you do, and you do something and it manifests a certain result. And the discussion here is not about that manifestation action that happens. That's just something in nature that happens. It is having positive affirmations as one of the foundations for you to help you reach your goals. Of course, taking action is another element of you reaching your goal, right? So it's not, you can't just say that these influencers are saying, you should do affirmations and just sit in a room and expect something to happen. You got to do the affirmations and take action to expect something to happen. But the point here is that if you take action without the affirmations, then you'll probably be taking action with a negative mindset or a pessimistic perspective, and you're much less likely to reach your goals.
Short-term goals. Now, that's what manifesting is. And this all makes you wonder.
Again, that is not what manifesting is. Manifesting is the result of whatever's in your brain. So the influencers here are espousing you or recommending that you put positive affirmations into your brain.
Where this manifesting stuff is coming from, what's driving its popularity? Where are people getting these ideas? Well, like all bad ideas in modern society, the answer is mostly TikTok. On that.
Now, I thought, according to Matt Walsh at the top of this video, manifestation is something that's decades old. So TikTok is only a couple of years old. So again, this is just, I don't even think it's worth discussing. He basically goes through all these influencers that have, different ways of helping you do your manifestation, like reprogramming, for example. Again, I'm for this stuff, but I think chapter 2 has a couple of affirmations that are well phrased. The way I do my affirmations is that I say I am. I say I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am lucky. I am creative. I am funny. All these things I am. And that's the way I like to do it, and it works for me. However works for you. The point here is to replace any kind of pessimistic and negative viewpoint and negative self-talk with positive affirmations. That's just one element, one component to having a successful and happy life. You got to have positive affirmations. Yes, you also have to take action. Yes, you also have to have a good diet. Yes, you also have to remove toxic people from your life. It's a multifaceted approach here to happiness, but affirmations and manifestation are absolute affirmations that lead that manifest are absolutely one of the components here, because negative self-talk also manifests, Matt Walsh. That's something I think Matt Walsh is failing to understand, is that you got to have the positive self-talk. Otherwise, you're going to have negative self-talk. And no matter which type of self-talk you have in your brain, that kind of, when you're talking to yourself in your brain and the way you're thinking to yourself when you're alone, it's going to manifest. So you might as well think positive thoughts. So he talks about that, and then I want to get to the portion where he provides an alternative. So let's find that.
Into space. Maybe I just solved the TikTok problem. Or maybe I accomplished nothing at all. I wouldn't put much money on the former. Now, we aren't going to spend any more time establishing that all this is totally bogus. The only thing your manifestations manifest is more bull. We don't need to harp on that. Instead, I think there are two more specific points that are worth making here. First, manifestation is itself yet another manifestation of a secular society's need for religion.
Secular society.
You cannot really have an entirely irreligious culture. Humanity needs religion. If you chase religion out, you'll be left with a religion-sized hole that must be filled, and in its place will inevitably be just a secularized version of what it was replacing. In other words, manifesting is nothing more than a godless prayer. That is, it's a prayer.
I agree with that 100%. Manifesting is a godless prayer
that rejects the being who can actually answer the prayer. It's a prayer that calls upon the universe for aid rather than calling upon the creator of the universe.
Okay, so this is what I find very funny, is that he's kind of equivocating manifestation or essentially positive affirmations that manifest, which is, and I agree. I think as I discussed in chapter 8 of Good Problems to Have, under the title No Judgment, prayer manifests. Prayers work. Just like affirmations work, prayers are also likely to manifest in action that can then result in a desired outcome. So prayers absolutely work. And I agree. I think you should pray. And the way I discuss it in the book is that one should pray to themselves. There's no reason to pray to, as he's saying, the universe. And there's no reason to pray to this imaginary old man in the sky, God, okay? We are in a secular society. Our society is functioning right now without God, okay? And that's why all our laws don't mention God. We're able to function and run a successful country and have local and national governments without God, right? Because the word God does not appear in any legal law that governs our current society and the social contracts that we have with each other. So the society is very well capable of operating without God. And the way I like to think, I agree with Matt Walsh that manifestation or affirmations is equivalent to praying. What I think is the advantage to doing manifestations and affirmations is that instead of relying on God to do something for you, you're now relying on yourself. You're talking to yourself. You're manifesting, you're affirming positive outcomes into your brain. And as we discussed earlier in this video about Matt and I, you still got to take action to make things happen. But it's on you. It's on you to do it. And that's the best source of your happiness. You. Not your family or your friends or your government or God. None of these entities are responsible for your happiness. Only you are responsible for your happiness. So you might as well pray to yourself. And let me tell you one little tip. I've analyzed a lot of prayers out there, and if you replace the word God with me in almost any prayer, it works. Instead of saying, "Dear God, please let me have a family one day," you say, "Dear David, dear me, I want a family one day. Dear God, please help me get this new job that I just applied for." You can say, "Dear me, help me get this new job that I just applied for." And what does that do? Instead of sitting there after saying that affirmation in that job example, instead of just sitting there and say, I made a prayer, so maybe God will help me get that job, you're putting the responsibility on yourself. And maybe immediately after that prayer, you get the idea, hey, let me send a follow-up email to the interviewer just saying how good of a time I had. or let me follow them on social media, or just do one little thing right now that I'm doing right now to increase my chances of getting that job that I just applied for. There's tremendous advantage to praying to yourself rather than relying on this fantastical creator of the fantastical universe that has nothing to do with you. You're a human being sitting on a rock, on land, right here on land. Okay, this is you right here. There's no universe, there's no God that's relevant to your happiness today and tomorrow. You're relevant, and your mindset is relevant. So you might as well make it positive and put the responsibility and the praise on yourself rather than God, government, family, friends, or anything else.
And the thing about prayer, though, traditional prayer, religious prayer, is that you can't treat it like a magical spell. It's not a mystical incantation that will bring you fortune and fame if you utter the correct combination of syllables. In Christianity, to pray is to lift your heart and mind to God, to lift, to look towards heaven, to humble yourself, and yes, sometimes to ask for something that you need or want, though that's not the only reason a person should pray. And at any rate, the answer from the Christian conception of prayer, the answer to the prayer may be no. In fact, oftentimes it is. And the faithful Christian understands this and accepts it. He also understands that God expects us to participate in our own lives. He expects us to work and strive. If we sit around chanting about all the stuff we want, we can be pretty sure that we won't get anything. But the modern secularist removes all this from his version of prayer. He removes God first and foremost. He removes humility. He removes his own obligation to act and to work and to seek and to put in the effort. And what we're left with is an entirely self-centered exercise in futility, calling out to nothing and nobody, demanding that what you don't deserve and refuse to work for.
Again, I think this calling out to nothing and nobody and demanding something that you refuse. A lot of people that pray religiously do exactly the same thing. They sit in a room and they pray to God and they say, God, please give me $1 million right now. A lot of people are doing that right now. So again, I think he is taking it too tough on the manifestation industry without and trying to praise the religious industry. And I think it's misguided. I think both a religious person or a person that is into affirmations and manifestation, they should sometimes accept failure as a part of life. I think they should both have humility. They think they should both have positive mindsets. And again, I think that they should both take action to reach their own desired outcome. But but I think the most important thing here that I think you can take away is that manifestation and affirmations are the same thing as praying, except with the advantage of putting the onus on you, the self, to do something, including be humble. So that is a much more powerful perspective, I think, for you to help you reach your desired goals, rather than praying to this imaginary old man in the sky.
And that's because, and here's the second important point, if you are telling the universe what you want, you are talking to empty space. The universe doesn't care about you. The universe doesn't know you exist. The universe doesn't know anything because it has no...
If you're talking to God in a room and I walk into that room, I could say that you're talking to empty space. And if I say, who are you talking to? And they say, I'm talking to God. I'd say God doesn't care about you. God doesn't know who you are. I mean, come on. This is I can make an equivalence in terms of everything that he's saying about God. And again, my point here is not to get you to not believe in God. But my point here is for you to take responsibility over your own thoughts and actions and the desired outcomes that you want. And positive affirmations seems like, at least for the last 4 decades, according to Matt, but I'm here to tell you much longer, have been part of that kind of secret code to help you live a better lifestyle rather than negative outcomes.
Mind is big, dumb, violent, terrifying. The universe would destroy you and the planet you live on without thinking twice.
So would God.
Because it doesn't think at all. The universe is indifferent. This is the reality we have to just...
So is God. So is God. The concept of God is also indifferent. God has been responsible for a lot of tragedy throughout the history and a lot of great things throughout history. And again, this whole concept of, see, as you can see here, we have a kind of a trifecta of sources for creation, right? We have God, the universe, and the self. And that's what I'm recommending to you, the self. Put it on yourself, not the universe and not God. They're both fantastical, mythical, unprovable beings. You are sitting right here, right now. You're a person. You're someone that is recognized under the law in the United States as an entity. You're an official person in a capacity that can do stuff, and you have responsibilities, and you have rights, okay? God doesn't have any of that. God is not a person. He has no responsibilities. There's no rights, and neither is the universe. So just, let's get real here when it comes to the things that we put into our mind and for the desired outcomes that we want.
The person itself is indifferent. It is not going to make fortune and fame fall out of the sky for you.
Neither is God. God is not going to make fortune and fame fall out of the sky for you.
It'll give you nothing from the sky, but maybe rain. And it will usually be more rain than you want, or not as much as you need.
Again, I think God does that a lot, right? According to a lot of, popular culture. But, this is not the universe or God creating rain. It's clouds in the sky creating rain.
Because the universe doesn't care what you want or need. That's the cold reality.
Neither does God. God does not care what you want or need. You do. But you do. So leverage that.
Is a reality as cold as the universe itself, which, by the way, is about negative 450 degrees Fahrenheit on average. What does this mean? It means that if you want someone...
So I guess when he's talking about the universe, he's talking about the physical universe, which is, I think he's talking about outer space.
Love and care about you. Need to pray to God, not a big empty space. It also means that even if...
Again, I'm pretty sure those are the same exact things. I don't know why he's failing to see the parallels here.
Pray to God. You still need to work towards your goals.
Agreed.
Nothing wrong with having big aspirations.
Good.
You need to be willing to slave away day after day, dealing with all the frustration.
I don't know about the use of the term slave, but, maybe that he's using that in the biblical sense. But yes, he's right. You gotta still take action towards your goals. But I think the positive affirmations are going to help you be more likely to take action. And I think that's kind of the premise here, is to have that positive affirmation mindset as a foundation for your goal. And that's going to help you take action. And then before you know it, hey, it's manifested itself.
In order to actually make those aspirations manifest into something tangible. The manifestation is something that you do yourself. You make them manifest.
So it looks like Matt is coming around here by understanding that manifestation is a natural result of what's inside someone's brain. And the positive affirmations that these TikTok influencers are espousing. And again, I'm totally for that. And I appreciate that he is saying to pray to God instead. But I think that's another way to kind of pass the buck, so to speak, in terms of who's responsible for the outcomes in your life. It's not the universe and it's not God. It's you.
If you aren't willing to do that, then you'll just be a loser, whispering sweet nothings to yourself, accomplishing nothing, and becoming nobody.
A lot of people that believe in God can fit that description. So again, the distinction here is not about whether you're into manifestations and positive affirmations or you're into prayer. I think the distinction here is you got to take action here, but I'm here to tell you you're much more likely to take action by having a positive, optimistic mindset and perspective and removing negative self-talk from your psyche. This has been David Nima, host of the podcast Good Problems to Have, The Anatomy of Contemporary Happiness. I will see you guys on the next video.